Mackey's, now known as Bobby Mackey's, this building was dark. And my sister said, "Look at the beautiful lady standing at that door." And there was a woman with a long white dress, and it was, we did have a lot of air, a wind blowing, and yet it was kind of flowing in, like in a breeze. So she was standing with her hands backwards towards the door, and we were always taught that we had guardian angels watching over us, that we never had to worry about being hurt. So we thinking that it was our guardian angel, so we started to walk towards the pretty lady. And with that, I don't know why, but it appeared to us later, now that I've gone through this story, or Lana Kay has gone through her story, that the woman evidently was our guardian angel that we saw, and she did not want us on this property. Maybe there were demons, I don't know, but she didn't want us to be hurt. So she raised up, when she saw us coming, about a half a foot off of the ground in front of the door that's in the back here. And with her hands back towards the door, she just went back through the door, and the door was closed. It was not open door. So about that time, my father showed up. And, of course, we're all excited, telling him that we saw our guardian angel. We had never seen our guardian angel before. And so my father said, well, I'll explain something to you when we get home. So when we arrived home, he explained to us about the lady called Pearl Bryan that had her head cut off by two young men that were studying to be surgeons. And they never found her head. And we, at that time, thought it happened on our road, on Licking Pike, but of course it didn't. It happened over on 27.
Now, show us where you lived on Licking Pike. Ruby has brought a couple of pictures to share with us.
The first place we lived was in this log cabin house. And we lived there for quite a few years. In fact, my brother Johnny's visited us from Texas today, and he was born and he was raised in this house till he was about 3 years old.
Okay, and then you moved?
And then we moved to Second Road up from Bobby Mackey's, across from what was known then as Andrews Steel Company, which is now Newport Steel, and prior to that, Interlake Steel. So we lived there for several years, 1933 to be exact, when we went to the movie theater. So getting back to the story about the woman, Pearl Bryan.
Your mother knew that story, Ruby. Your mom and dad both knew about that.
And it's been handed down from generation to generation, because this happened back in the 1800s. And the mother, after they found the body, the mother, I want to explain how they did. Back in the older years, they called it walking the floor crying and wringing their hands when they cried. She walked the floor and she wrung her hands, and while she was wringing her hands, she would say, my daughter, my daughter is dead. Oh daughter, oh where is your head? The men they died for the deed they did do, but daughter, my daughter, where are you? You walk this world in a long white dress. Lay down, my daughter, and take your rest. Well, that really intrigued us. But it was just a story that, you know, like any story was told. We didn't know much about that. But it was really a true story. And this was handed down from family to family, like I said, through the generations. So it could, because it was part of our being where we had lived, and we were very fascinated by it.
Do you think that the lady at the door, you still believe that was your guardian angel? Do you believe that was Pearl Bryant? There's also a dance hall girl, Ruby, associated with this place, Johanna. What do you think was at the door that day? Who do you think the apparition was?
I think the apparition was what we always believed, our guardian angel, and therefore that's why she disappeared, because she didn't want us to come on this property. And after that, we walked on the other side going to and from Newport.
How do you feel coming today inside the club where you saw this so many years ago, Ruby? How did you feel when you first came in?
Well, it felt a little eerie. And regardless of what anybody says, when you walk in that door, when you're outside, there's a different feeling you have when you walk through that door, and the door shuts behind you. So it's not, I don't think anybody could ever explain it. But I do think there are spirits, and therefore I feel that there are good spirits around me. And so I'm not frightened, but I really do believe, as Doug Hensley wrote in his book, I do believe there are good spirits and bad spirits. And fortunately, this lady, I feel, was a good spirit, and she was protecting us. And but this is a very nice show, and I really enjoyed, coming and sharing this, because...
And we're so glad you could come out and be with us today, Ruby.
I'm ready.
Oh, we're sitting now with Bobby Mackey. Welcome to the program, Bobby.
Thank you.
Bobby, last show, you had never seen or felt any ghostly presence in the club, and we have to know, is that still the case today?
Well, that's still the case. We play country music here, and I don't even think about ghosts till somebody comes up and asks me about it.
Okay, now, Bobby, last show, you did not really like to come and be in the club alone. Has that changed? Have you conquered your fear?
Well, actually, maybe I misstated, but it used to be that way. Some years ago, I used to be really uncomfortable coming in here by myself. But that has changed, and I don't think anything about it anymore.
What about the basement area? We were down in the basement earlier. We checked out the well, and Doug Hensley, who is left now, said, when Bobby gets here, ask him about the stairway to nowhere. Ask him to explain that has never, that the floor is secure there, and that stairway is just sort of suspended.
I don't really know about that. I guess maybe they built a floor over top of it. I don't know.
In Doug's book, Bobby, Hell's Gate, of course, that chronicles the history of the club and the surrounding area, many of the encounters that people had were hostile, demons and things of that sort. Is it that you just don't believe in those things at all? That, could there be a bad force? Bad forces, evil forces?
I don't think there's any force at all. I don't understand. There's got to be an explanation for all of it.
For all the people and all the occurrences. Well, let me ask you this, and just one last question. Ruby Wiley, she spoke right before you took the chair, and of course she has no affiliation with you or the club. And long ago, when she was a little girl, she saw something when she walked by here, a beautiful lady. Her sister's gone now, but she said if her sister was here, she would swear to it too, that they saw this when they were young girls, walking hand in hand. Now, how can that be?
Well, Ruby's a nice lady and lends a lot of credibility to the story. A lot of people do, and I don't understand, how these things can happen. But I guess you can't completely discount the fact that these people are credible and see these things, but the explanation is something else.
When it doesn't happen to you, maybe it's just, Bobby, it just happens to people that believe in it. Could that be it? And since you don't, you so adamantly say it can't be, that maybe that's why it doesn't happen to you.
Well, maybe. Maybe it's the connection. I just don't connect with it, maybe.
In Search Of was here
Yes.
just last week, and they found some pretty amazing things in here. Any explanation for any of that?
No,
It's just...
I have no idea why these things happen.
You're a tough interview, Bobby. Thank you. Thank you for coming out and being with us today. Thank you. Well, you've just heard some very strange and very fascinating stories coming from this nightclub. And as always, I hope that you enjoyed yourself. I hope you enjoyed Have Your Say with Lana Kay. Be happy and keep smiling. and I'll see you soon.